Geek Squad. Geek Squad.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Geek Squad.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Geek Squad.
Hello and good evening. My name is Kobe Spiking Chroma and welcome to Geek Squad on JoyFM 99.7. Today is the Battle Royale. The most awaited, should I call it an argument or discussion between Apple's iOS and Google's Android OS. We're basically going to be talking about these two platforms. You know, the fanboys on both sides are very passionate about their platforms. This one says, hey, mine is better. This one says, hey, mine is also good. And they all have their perks and their quirks. So today we're going to have a discussion. Two on each side. Two Apple fighters versus two Android fighters. And then there's me, the Windows Phone user. In other words, I'm the neutral guy. Yeah, I don't have a side. And with me, you know, I need a linesman. I can't be the referee. I have a linesman. Kukwanas is going to be my linesman for today. You don't know. So we're going to be talking about features. You know, we'll be breaking down the features and then drilling each other, talking about, hey, who's lacking what. So you think you have good features. Android guys get to drill holes in your features. Android says it, iOS get to drill hole in the Android guys' features, and then me and my linesman, we will basically say, you know, who is right and who's wrong. And yeah, we're going to have fun. If you're listening, we have a poll on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're passionate about iOS, go vote. If you're passionate about Android, go vote. And you can drop us a comment on WhatsApp at 0244340437. I'll say it slower. 0244340437. Send us a message on WhatsApp. Tell me why you love your OS, why you use it, and yeah, if you've been convinced by my panelists by what they're saying, and maybe you use one of the platforms and then someone says something that's so convinced you're going to shift, let me know and I'll give them 1 point. So without much ado, let me introduce my audience. I've already introduced Kukwanas as my linesman. So on the red side, what color do you guys like? Apple guys? Black. On the black side. Funny enough, both Apple defenders are called Frank. So I think the other name for Apple is Frank, right? So on the black side, we have Frank 1 and Frank 2. So Frank 1, you're going to introduce yourself. Tell me about you.
My name is Frank Kofi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a tech enthusiast. I do web development, and I do construction as well, basically. And I've been using both platforms for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I am more inclined towards iOS because of the synergy and the whole ecosystem that
Right.
it offers.
Okay. So, Frank, 2, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Frank Yawadeabuaje, and I'm a mobile app reviewer. So
Mhm.
I've used a lot of phones in my lifetime, and I started out as an Android user. But from the day I held the iPhone, I knew this was home, man. So I'm also an app developer, and because of the line of work that I do, I use about 10 different phones.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's it.
So you are essentially like the most versatile phone guy right now. You have like 10 phones right now. Eesh. What's my Geek Squad sing tune? Drop it. Okay, so in the Android corner, what color do you guys want?
I think green is fine.
Green, yeah, green for Android, eh? So in the green corner, Winston Woocher, tell us about yourself, Winston.
Italian. You know, every time I come on and I hear what people do, like, I'm just a normal guy. Very, very normal. I'm a photographer and I'm a cinematographer as well. So, yes, I do use the Mac OS, not the iOS. And I understand the Apple stands a lot. The iShip, as we refer to it. But
Took
I
me
prefer
shots
Android.
already.
That's it.
And then in the green corner,
Well, my name is Nick,
Nick.
an average guy, IT. I'm a web developer as well,
Okay.
but I love Android. I'm all Android, so I mean, you get to know more about it as we go on.
Right. So we will be back in a moment. Geek Squad is brought to you by Safe Doctor, the Safe Doctor app. Download the Safe Doctor app now from the Google Play Store. Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care.
Hey, is that Ifya? Ifya, were you not the same person shivering so much this morning from a fever? Which hospital did you go to?
Oh, Kweku, I just went to the hospital on my phone. It's called Safe Doctor.
And which hospital too is that?
Safe Doctor is an all-new telemedicine app which allows me to access world-class Medicare right from my mobile phone. The app lets me have real-time video consultation with very qualified doctors of my choice wherever I am.
Oh wow. But what about when you need to run labs and take a prescription?
Safe Doctor has partnered hospitals, labs, and pharmacies. I just received the request for the lab or prescription from Safe Doctor, and I simply go to the lab or pharmacy for them. I even have access to first aid, other health information, and an elite medical chat room.
Wow, I must get this app.
Download the Safe Doctor app from the Google Play Store.
Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care.
Joy 99.7 FM.
And we're back.
Geek Squad.
Charlie, we haven't even started, and yo, this is going to be fun. So, Twitter polls in 2 minutes 57% iOS, 43% Android. So, round 1, let's go. Affordability. First point. iOS. Do you think your devices are affordable?
Yes, they are very affordable. I think that Android phones are for poor people, and iPhones are for rich, tech-savvy people who know the value of the devices that they want. And you know, there's a difference between buying two types of cars. We have cars which perform and cars that, you know, this is what I can afford, so I'm getting. And iPhones are the top tier. They're
the Mercedes of
you
phones.
know, the Mercedes of phones. You know.
Frank 2. In fact, that's Frank 1. Frank 1. Frank Kofi, do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Of course you'll
with
agree.
him. But then again, let's define affordability.
Mm-hmm.
What constitutes affordability in the lifestyle of a phone?
Let's talk about, we're talking about Ghana.
Yeah.
So the typical Ghanaian user who goes out there to buy a cell phone
Yeah.
is offered an Android-based phone and an iOS-based phone.
Yeah.
Which one is more affordable? Take into consideration that each one has its own ecosystem. We're looking at that whole ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a very simple statement I make.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an iPhone today and it works, in 5 years, it's going to be working.
Is it?
Yes.
So do you have like the iPhone 3GS?
I sold mine. I upgraded because I wanted something.
But do you know anyone who's using an iPhone 3GS now?
Yes, I've seen guys doing that.
What apps are they running on it? Because I know 3GS lost support for, the latest iOS long ago. So even WhatsApp crowd won't work.
Oh, well, there are ways to go around that.
Okay. So you guys believe that your phones are affordable?
Yes, they are.
Rebuttal, Android guys.
Affordability. Yeah. Well, they aren't wrong in terms of like affordability is very relative. But let's be honest. For the layman, affordability is how many zeros and what day it started. And with Android, you get a wide spectrum. And the interesting thing is that with Android, you get what they now call flagship killers.
Right.
And we even have the killer for the flagship killer now, the new phone called the Pocophone F1,
Yes.
which has all the specs. I have pretty much all the specs that even the iPhone 9 would have, which is an LCD screen, a 1080p LCD screen, Snapdragon 840.
But that's speculation right there.
That is speculation.
So
but-
we are not dealing with speculation. What
but okay,
facts?
let me use the 8, the iPhone.
The iPhone 8.
It's using running pretty much the same thing. in terms
But
of
it's running the
specs.
most powerful chip.
right
That
now.
A11 Bionic is the most powerful chip.
Which is fine. That is because of software, hardware optimization, and the like, which is cool. That's cool.
but that's
right
it.
now, you have a phone that when you purchase one, you could buy. Wait, the price of which you can buy 3 if you had bought an iPhone. So when we are talking about affordability, I mean, definitely it's up to you. What's the point? What's the breaking point for your affordability?
Pandora.
So, yeah.
Well, Frank too said something. He used the line. He said, "iPhone is for rich people. Android is for the poor people." That actually judges it. I mean, affordability. If you
So
say
the
something
poor
is for
can
the rich
afford
and
it.
something is for the poor,
So he shot himself in the
shot
foot.
himself in the foot.
It wasn't shooting myself in the foot or shooting iOS in the foot, but you could choose to live in the outskirts of town. You can build a house somewhere at Wager because you can't afford land in Accra. But you work at Kokomlemle. But if you have money, you would rather prefer to buy land somewhere
So
at
it boils down to the point that if you have money, that means that
Which is
if
the
it is affordable,
Yes, but
To
if
the
you
layman,
know what
to the
you
ordinary
want,
person.
okay, because the lifespan of most Android phones are 2 years.
Well, knowing what you want comes with a risk. I mean, there's opportunity cost because you need to gather all your money in your account
okay.
to buy a
So
phone which you can
for
buy.
affordability,
Yes.
for affordability, I mean, as a Windows Phone user, I must say that it's clear that the Android guys have won because of the Poco phone and I'm going to ask my linesman. Quick one, Nancy.
Quick one. Quick one.
Okay.
He said for the price of one iPhone 8, you could buy 3 Oppo phones. Now, how long would these Oppo phones last?
How long would both your phones
Right
last?
now, we don't know. And besides, when it comes to phones, it's based on how you use them. I've used the Samsung Galaxy Tab 1 for 5 years and it runs perfectly fine. So it's really up to you. So how long will it run? Last 5 years?
Well, how long it will run actually changes the affordability to how robust is the device you're buying, which is another topic. If I'm in the right.
Okay.
Because, I mean, affordability is affordability.
Yeah, because you can buy a phone that's very affordable,
Yes.
but obviously it won't even last you a month.
Yes,
Exactly.
but it doesn't erase the fact that it is still affordable.
Okay, so affordable also comes with the durability. So in that stead, the iOS people actually have, a point there. If you're buying a phone for $1,000 and it's going to last you, say, 5 years, that's $200 every year for the next 5 years. Versus you buying a phone that's $300 that's going to end up dying after 2 years. So it means that after another 2 years, you buy another one, which is $600.
And then
okay,
in the third year,
and the third year you buy
$900 still
$900. Okay. Quick one, Nancy.
Well, for me, I think poor people buy quality things.
Oh, really?
Because,
Why would you say
it's
that?
going to last for them, and then
Yes.
for a very long time, they need not to change it at all.
Yeah. They always think about longevity.
You see that?
So I think that the Android guys have won this one in terms of
I was
affordability.
also thinking that affordability means not buying phones about 2 times within a year.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's part of affordability. So, for instance, if you are adding 4 phones, maybe within 2 years you can buy about 3 phones, and then within that same 2 years you are just holding 1 phone. It's kind of tricky.
But then here's a case that we did a evaluation where this person bought 1 phone for $1,000, and then this person bought, I'm using a Poco phone as an example, which is basically also a flagship killer, valued at about $300, and then compares with the $1,000 iPhone, and we're just saying they're saying that it lasts for 2 years, so let's give or take.
We are using the numbers.
So after 2 years, they have to buy another one. Then they buy. Take into consideration that after that 2 years, going to buy another one, he's going to buy an even a newer one, and then he's going to buy another newer one in another 2 years. So that's like 3 times he's bought a different phone. He hasn't really lost value because he bought a newer phone, but then he didn't even spend up to $1,000 that this person bought once. Okay, there's also the argument that in between that time, he also spends money transporting yourself to go buy that phone. But give or take, it's still not going to end up at $1,000, even if you're buying that phone 3 times. It's still going to have like a $900.
The first one that was bought that lasted a year or 5 years, I mean, it will depreciate.
It's
hardware,
obsolete.
yes. It will exhaust itself.
Okay, so bottom line, you think that it's for the iOS?
I will go for Android.
You go for Android on the affordability.
Tight race when it comes to that.
Okay, so I think my linesman and I agree on this one. We'll give it to the Android guys. So 1 point for the Android guys. Now we're going to apps. App availability. This case, everyone buys a phone and then they install apps. You know, apps have become like the blood of the phone. You can't have a phone without apps. So we're talking about who has the most availability, like the most apps available, who has the best support for apps, who has the most features for these same apps across platform. So I gave you guys, iOS guys, the first call. So Android guys, apps. What's your platform offer that iOS doesn't?
Well, with the apps, the interesting thing about the Android Play Store is that the Android Store is that you get a lot of apps. So you mentioned 3 things. If you talk about numbers, I think probably the Android Play Store has the numbers. But when it comes to the support, I will definitely say the iOS has, because the hoops you have to jump through to put up an app is crazy. But fine, if you are talking about the app capabilities, I think it's a tie. So when it comes to apps, I would personally say this is a tie.
You have basically just said that it's a tie. So you've just thrown in the towel.
Yeah, that this is.
Pandora, do you agree with your partner?
Well, in a way, I mean, in numbers, yes. I mean, you can eventually go through Play Store and there are numerous apps, I mean, millions of thousands that you can install on your phone, provided the storage is capable and the RAM is okay enough to run, and you can scroll through your apps through the application drawer on end. However, on the other side, iOS, in numbers, iOS doesn't actually allow more as compared to Android. And, well, I will agree with Winston on it.
See, this one, the people have already killed themselves. They've given up. They've given up. They're giving it to you guys. So you guys just issue your Thanksgiving statement.
We haven't given it to them.
Oh, you said it's a tie.
In numbers.
You broke it into 3 parts. And Android wins 1. Apple wins 1, and the last one is a tie, because the capabilities of an app are actually based on the design of the app. So if I design an app to be able to do certain things, it will do it as long as my phone can do it. So that is a draw.
But then the end user doesn't care. All the end user knows is that my Snapchat looks better on an iPhone versus on an Android phone.
So is that what you mean by capabilities?
That's what I mean by features of the app.
Okay.
I'm just like, yo, take.
Well, with that, with the whole Snapchat thing, I think the Pixel actually addresses that.
So you have to actually handpick one fighter to come and fight this battle.
Which is the beauty of Android. We have devices all over.
But then again, you're the one fighting affordability. Can a Poco phone do this?
Yes.
It can.
Yes, it can.
We haven't seen a Poco phone, so I'm not going to give you that.
We have. We have seen.
We've seen reviews, yes, but we haven't physically held the device, so we can't boldly claim to know what it's capable of.
Yes, let's use the OnePlus.
OnePlus isn't cheap.
It's $500.
Okay, so iOS guys, it's official. You guys don't have as many apps because of the tight security that Apple puts in place, preventing any kind of app. But then they said they give you, they have variety. You don't. So they have that. That's what they claim. Now, tell them something.
Well, variety is good, but what good is variety if it doesn't do exactly what you need to do the way you want it to do? So at the end of the day, the few that Apple makes sure that it curates and gets into its app store, that's exactly what it says it would do, and so everyone is happy. So at the end of the day, it's not really about the numbers. It's about being able to do what you want the app to do, and all the apps in the app store do that. So it's that simple.
And in addition, most apps, or some of the well-known apps like Instagram, was released on iOS 2 years before it came on Android. Same with Snapchat.
Is that the same thing now? Like, is it the same?
I have an app. Okay, so I know that the App Store, users of iPhones ordinarily tend to purchase apps.
Right.
Okay, so developers would prefer to develop apps or premium quality apps for the App Store rather than the Google Play Store.
Wouldn't that be because submitting your app to the Apple the App Store is more expensive than submitting an app to the Play Store?
Yeah,
that's why people would want to actually charge. Wouldn't
in
that
fact,
be
the very reason why submitting an app to the Play Store is not good is because you can find a lot of trashy apps on the Google Play Store. Anybody can just create any app. The review process is not thorough. I put an app on the App Store, the iOS App Store, and it took about 2 weeks for them to review and give us the final go ahead for it to be published. But the same app, I put it on the Google Play Store, within 10 minutes it was live. So the checks that app developers have to go through to get their apps on the App Store ensures that the apps that the end user is going to get is of a far superior quality than what you are going to get from the Google Play Store.
And better security.
Exactly.
Because they basically check everything.
And apps are also basically optimized for the iOS ecosystem, more than the Google Play Store. Because when it comes to Android, which particular phone are you going to talk about? You see, that's the issue, the fragmentation. Which particular phone? Is it the Samsung or the HTC or the LG? Which one are you customizing for? So I review an app for a big institution in Ghana, and what we noticed is that, the app, when we deploy on the Google Play Store, can crash on a Techno, or crash on an Infinix, will work on some phones. But once you deploy for the iOS App Store, that it's going to work for everybody. So in terms of apps, optimization, quality, and even preference of developers prefer the iOS App Store.
So, security one, iOS says they have better security.
Which is true.
Yes, I'm just summarizing what they've said. And they also have better experience. They say they have better experience. Like, because of your fragmentation, sometimes you have problems on multiple devices, which I actually have to say, I've also experienced that. There are apps that I would run on one phone, take them to the other, and they're not as, But
I have something to say to
right.
that. Now, the interesting thing is that pretty much all the apps you get on the Apple Store,
Mm-hmm.
get them on the Play Store, and those apps run perfectly on any Android phone. That's the interesting thing. It's those ones that don't meet the standard, as you put it, that end up giving you problems.
Right.
But the ones that are running on Apple run perfectly fine without any bugs. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, they all run perfectly fine on Android. But it's the outliers.
So basically, it boils down to the developer.
Yes.
But then again, the normal user doesn't know that. He's an app developer. He's developed iFrank.
Yeah.
And then he rolls out. You use that app. You see? So he rolls out the app on his, iOS device, and he rolls it out on Play Store. And the user doesn't know that the development of the app is the reason why it's crashing. The user is going to think that, my phone is not good because when I install this app, it's always crashing on my phone. And then his friend or her friend is using an iPhone and, but it's fine on mine. So the person's like, out with this, in with that.
That's the interesting thing, because definitely his app runs perfectly fine on on Android. Does it not?
No, it doesn't. You know, when it comes to Android, apart from the OEMs or the various device types you could have, you could also have a very wide range of Android versions.
Yes.
So somebody is using 8.0, somebody is using 9.0,
Yes.
somebody is even using 2.2 today.
Yeah.
You understand? So when you are creating an app for Android, you have to factor in
the
lot.
API level.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so it becomes a very cumbersome process. You
Yes.
understand? So we have issues of crashes on certain Android devices, whilst we never have issues of crashes on any iOS device.
Naturally, because all iOS devices get the updates.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
when an app
Pause.
Nice man.
Quick one answer.
Well, I've heard from both sides. What I will bring up is with the developer option that you are talking of. If I'm a developer, I wouldn't feel happy for my app to take about 2 weeks before it gets verified. And the 1 day and 10 minutes is very cool. I love it. And moreover, let's say, for instance, with the Apple and its so, what do you call it, sophisticated platform, Android has got its own that you can even install apps from various third parties.
Right.
You can just download it and install it.
But then
Right
isn't
now,
that also a problem when it comes to security? Because I could take an app and put in, it, and put in some bad boy code in there.
I've bought a device with my own money. Can't I protect it myself?
Not really.
Not everyone knows how to do this.
Well, you just have to use it and install good things and things you really don't need. If you end up, watching that thing, on and so on.
But the iOS user it's rare for an iOS user to install an app that would do bad things on their phone, versus an Android user who might end up installing an app that is actually, malware in disguise.
Well, if you even talk about malware and those things, I object, because people who think they are safe rather are very, very, very unsafe.
Yes.
Oh yes, because instead you thinking that maybe the hacking is going to go on your phone, no, your account rather is being hacked.
Right.
Not your phone.
So, in your opinion, right now, when it comes to apps, who would you give it to? You give it to Android. Well, I would give it to iOS.
Yeah.
Because
the fact that you can get different apps from different sources and install it, even sit here right now, develop an app and use it.
Yeah.
You can't do that on iOS.
You can run that on the phone, but you can't say put it in the store as quickly as you would on an Android device. Yeah. But you see, the reason why I'd give it to iOS is because of the fact that it makes it secure. And then there are less app crashes on an iOS device than on an Android device. Because we have to be very honest here. The hardware, software synergy.
Well, even in that portion that you are talking about the apps crashing, look at the variety of Android phones there are.
Exactly, which is a problem.
Yeah. The fragmentation.
The fragmentation is a huge problem.
With more power comes more responsibilities.
Yes. So then that means that they are not being responsible for not being able to control and make sure that all
there are apps that are working very well. So if you can't get yours to work very well, then just check yourself.
Okay.
Besides, if we have to put that limitation on it, then it nullifies what is called AOSP, Android Open Source Project. It's open source. You should be able to do
this is a tough call
without limitations.
It's not a tough call at all.
So I'm gonna Spiky greetings. Please let's declare Claire winning. No gentleman declaration today on those platforms from Bright. Charlie, people are saying that no gentleman. Someone has to come out a winner. So someone says, I'm with Android for availability. A wide ranges of phones for people with different kinds of paychecks. So you see, affordability comes in. And okay, so I'm using a Samsung Galaxy S5. It doesn't support MMS code. Okay, it means USSD, as in dialing mobile money code and internet bundles. So we've got hashtag Team iOS, hashtag muscle, smiley. And then someone says, iOS has the most support in today's tech world, everyone needs to communicate. Smartphones are the standard. In terms of affordability, iPhone doesn't give the average person a chance to own a device for simple communication. Android gives so much variety. Android has low to mid to high-end phones. iPhone loses on this one. So iOS has the most support for apps. Plus, the hardware on iPhone allows it to do more on the fewer apps that it has. Exactly. So, yeah, this one. It was supposed to be a tough call, but the message is coming in. So someone says, Apple phones are durable as compared with other brands and obviously come at a price. In the long term, Apple is cost effective, hence affordable as compared with Android phones. I guess we've already explained why it is not affordable. So when it comes to apps, we've got Twitter. With the issue of affordability, I believe iOS is better. Man, just imagine how many times you buy and repair one Android phone within 1 year. iOS isn't like that, duh.
How many times do they buy screens?
How many times? So no, but you see, on that point, Apple iPhone screens are actually cheaper because the cheaper ones on the market.
Even I think
you end up changing the screen and then now
you have
the color.
No, but you see, I use both phones. And once I dropped my Android phone from the first floor, and that time was Gorilla Glass 3. So I had faith that when I pick up the phone, it would work. And I picked up the phone and it was cracked into smithereens, And at my workplace, it's 13 floors. I dropped the iPhone from the 5th floor and I knew it was dead. But when I picked it up, the screen hadn't even cracked. It was just the back camera which was faulty, but the phone was completely functional.
But you didn't say about the Android phone. Was it
Android was just dead. I mean, the phone had cracked into
Okay,
pieces.
right now we can't believe anything you're saying because it could be that you're saying it for the sake of your band. You need proof.
But to be honest, how many years ago was this? And which phone are you talking about?
Okay, so the Android was an HTC One M7, and then the iPhone was an iPhone 7. Okay.
So fragmentation.
Okay, so the iPhone 10.
It's
Do
new.
you mind dropping it 5 floors?
I don't mind.
Oh wow.
When you hold the phone, you feel the build quality.
Okay.
When you hold the device, you can tell.
I'm not going to allow you people to take over. Oscar Sefa says, Kobe, I don't agree with the app crashes on Android and iPhone. Latest reports shows iOS app crashes way more than Android apps. Oh wow.
He's just saying anything. He hasn't added.
My producer, please go research this for me right now. Mr. Android, you're a loser before the argument starts. It's like going to a fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Even if Jesus visits you the night before the fight and tells you that you will win the fight, but as soon as you get into the ring after 3 rounds, that belief will clear from your face. Danny the Barber says that.
Wow.
Even if Jesus intervenes, my guy, you've lost.
Interesting.
Okay, so we've got a message. Hello, good evening to you guys. I think iOS is for rich developers. How can a young developer afford over $1,000 laptop, over $1,000 phone? With a 2,000 Ghana cedis, the same developer can get a laptop and an Android phone to build Android apps. This is Josh.
Sharp.
So,
It's on point.
affordability. I mean,
Affordability.
producer, please go research this. Okay, so yeah, someone has actually sent the report. iOS apps crash more than Android. Sefa from Tamale. Wow.
There's a link.
So there's actually a link. So my producer will open that link so we can confirm that. And if that is true, then I'm sorry. That's what I actually believed in.
But that shouldn't be the only consideration.
No, that's not the only consideration. I mean, on that note, I thought that Android app crashes were way more than iOS app crashes. So anyway, back to the same app. So we're breaking this into 3 categories. A number of apps, in which case Android wins. But then again, by which margin? Are they winning by just sheer number or quality? You see? And to be very honest with you, we know that yes, you may have a lot of apps, but the quality, are they all what they say they do? You don't have a flashlight that is stealing information from you.
Now the thing is that, like I stated before, pretty much every app that you would have on Apple Play Store exists on
Android. Yes.
So that goes without saying that the numbers would be pretty much compatible, at least if you're talking about quality. The baseline would be that they have about the same numbers in terms of quality, and that's when you go on to see which Android developers are out there working very hard and taking.
Okay, so we've opened the link, and it says that Apple and iOS stability is on the decline. So there's a report that says that the Apple apps are crashing more than the Android ones. This is quite a big blow to us, but
Okay.
I thought you were Windows.
no, I didn't say us as in me. I mean like, believers of the. So in the quarter 4 of 2015, Android crashes were 85% versus 15% on Android. Quarter 1 2016, 44 versus 25 on Android. And quarter 2 2016 was 58% versus 35%. And then quarter 3 2016, you can see 62%. Android 47%. iOS. And then quarter 4 2016 is also 62% Apple iOS crashes versus 47% Android crashes. So,
But these are 2016 statistics.
yes, and we're in 2018. So,
But this is showing that there's been
a
switch
a switch.
Yes.
There was. So we get a 20. You know what? I'm going to call this a tie. I'm going to call this a tie. For the sake of, or should I say for the lack of 2018 figures, we're going to call this a tie. You have the majority of the apps. They have a secure, guaranteed,
Not
safe.
really guaranteed, to be honest, because we remember that Celebrity Cloud scandal.
Yes.
That
Those
exists.
leaked
But
information.
yes, because
But
you use
that
end-to-end
was
encryption.
before. That was because of the user's negligence. It was actually attributed to
Which
user
I
negligence.
believe Kwekwananse could say the same for an Android.
So it's a tie. We're moving on. So 1 point for both of you. Now we're going to talk updates. So when I see an update on my phone, I'm excited. It means I'm getting a new feature. I threw the last question to the Android users, iOS. What is it about you guys in updates? Because the update comes and everybody gets it at the same time. There's no wait for me, I'm coming.
Okay, so that just explains how Apple works. Basically, they are always working to improve the systems. It's rather unfortunate that I think in 2016 they had a lot of crashes.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure, but it could well be that maybe one particular iOS version had issues, and so that's where the issues are coming from. But you could see that they keep working on the platform consistently, making sure that all loopholes are fixed every now and then. And what more can you ask for from a service provider who always makes sure they are improving and making sure you are safer every step of the way? I think that's all everyone wants, and so it's the best.
And also because, Apple is the company producing iPhones, all proper iPhones.
Is there anything like an improper iPhone?
Yeah, there will be an iPhone which will be an Android,
But that's not an iPhone.
Yes. So because Apple
That's
is
an unphone.
the manufacturer producing the same devices, there's uniformity, there's a standard. And what happens is that updates are released and everybody everywhere in the world gets the updates in real time, instantly. Okay. And the updates can go as far as 5 years. But when it comes to Android, because the OEMs, that's the original equipment manufacturers, are varied and they are different. Some have their personal support timelines for updates. So you can have an OEM which supports updates for just 1 year. Some don't at all. So when it comes to Android, the question is always, which Android phone are you talking about? And in terms of updates, some don't even get updates at all. The ones which will most likely get an update may be the Google manufactured phones like the Pixels, but when it comes to the other brands, some are still light years behind.
Android guys,
Well,
defend yourselves.
talking about updates, I mean, obviously we don't have a single device
So
which runs on.
it ends there.
So it doesn't end there.
It does
Well,
not end there.
It doesn't end there. I mean, there's a cutoff point.
You guys
for
don't wanna
Samsung
go down
phones.
without
I
a
mean, once
fight.
the phone is above 2 years, I mean, Samsung decides to shred updates for you, which obviously affects the Android device.
Right.
But then it is open source, so there is custom ROMs.
Let me pause you there. You do realize that we're talking about the everyday user and not a power user. You and I can do custom ROM, But the person who bought the phone that doesn't even know what a ROM is, they're just using the phone. And then take, for instance, let's say you bought an Android phone for your mother. Nick, phone now is slow. Are you going to tell your mom flash a custom ROM? Really? But if she had an iPhone, go check it if there's an update. And then they get an update. You get my point here. Everyday user.
There's no updates.
Okay. So about the updates.
Yes.
First off, the issue with updates and Android is definitely, as he said, the
fragmentation.
Not really. Fragmentation exists because it's an open source.
Right.
So you choose which OS you want to run.
Okay.
If you don't want the new OS, you are not forced. The interesting thing about the iOS is you are made to download and run that update. You don't really get a say in all of that.
It's compulsory.
It's
OTA,
compulsory.
over the year.
That is why they have the figures that say every device, because it's not like I get to choose whether I'm going to run it or not. Because if I don't run it after a certain number of weeks or months, my phone is basically a brick after that. So
because support for other apps die.
Just die.
As if you rented the device.
But that let me finish. But the thing is, so with the fragmentation, here's the thing. I agree that it takes a while for updates to come through. But it is open source.
But sometimes people don't even get updates at all.
And that's the interesting thing. You don't get updates at all. But let's be honest, the average user probably, I say this with a lot of trepidation, but the average user probably is not thinking about an update.
You have a point there.
in today's world, you know, as new apps are developed, most apps, you know, for Android, they choose to run up to a certain OS version. So, for example, most apps nowadays, 5.1 or 5.0 minimum. So, can you imagine if you are using a Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and it's 4.4 KitKat?
Now, you see,
it's not such a bad phone. So, why can't you use the latest apps?
You see, the interesting thing.
So, now because the user has to go and buy a new phone.
No, that's not the thing.
He's still shooting.
No, let me jump in right.
Linesman, hold on.
When it comes to developing apps, I have developed an app before, and you get a baseline API to work with when it comes to Android. So you can choose whether you want to make it all the way to ice cream sandwich even, or you want to restrict it to only Oreo and above. It's your choice. Developer. It's your choice.
Yes, but the older versions of Android have vulnerabilities. Okay. And that's why developers...
That's why there are always updates.
Yes, so if your operating system or your device you bought cannot support the latest updates, and because of that you cannot run the latest games and the latest apps, what's the use in having such a phone?
Okay, let's take WhatsApp into context. The ubiquity of WhatsApp in Ghana. Pretty much every Android phone uses WhatsApp. It doesn't matter what operating system you are running. If you are running even as low as like ice cream sandwich, you are running.
Yeah.
Are there any problems?
You still get your end-to-end encryption.
Do we have any problems?
But we can't use WhatsApp as the standard, or we can't just take WhatsApp out of a billion apps in the App Store.
Okay, then name these apps and let's go at it.
Let us also divide the updates. We have security patches, and then we have interface updates. It may not get interface updates, but security patches, yes, it will get. So if you're saying that it is old, and because it is old, it is prone to security breach, let us look at it very carefully, because the update comes in two forms. You can have a security patch, then you can have a user interface change. That one, after an update and you reboot your device, the whole interface changes, the icons all change. But then you can
Let me read this message.
You don't even see.
So someone says, really quick one answer. iPhones are durable, and with Apple, I don't even need insurance from my phone company. My iPhone 6 Plus has malfunctioned 3 times within the last 5 years, and every time Apple replaced it for a fresh new iPhone for free, without any warranty purchased. I've been on Android before about 6 years, and anytime I wrecked it, I had to pay for a new one. Apple all the way. That's Ike in the USA. There's also another message that says that Kobe, iOS updates are mainly to slow down. I was actually coming to this on your devices so you can purchase a new iPhone. I mean, this was actually something that was proven. Now, when Apple starts pushing updates to your older phone, it's to slow it down so you buy the new phone.
I remember that issue.
Yeah, and then there was a class action lawsuit against Apple for this.
Yes, that was proved, so that's great. But the point is...
Wait, that was proved, so that's great.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's understood. But the point is, updates are not compulsory as he sought to make it look. there are times I have opted not to update my device because I'm waiting for jailbreak. So that they will get there.
We are talking about the average user here.
Yes. So for the average user, it's not always compulsory. So if you are comfortable with where you are sitting, all your apps work great, it is not compulsory. But it is sometimes in your own interest because for security reasons to do the update.
Yeah.
But if you feel your device is a little too old and you don't do a lot of bad things online, you could sit back and say,
not
no,
update
I
it.
don't want this one. I just want to stick with what I
Okay, so we've got a very long message here, after which we'll take phone calls. We don't have a lot of time, but iPhone was my first smartphone. Me too, and I love the phone. Actually, no, it wasn't my first smartphone, but it was my first favorite smartphone. Later, I upgraded to another iPhone, and the love affair continued. But then the relationship turned sour when I had to relate with other phones, sending files, syncing stuff, etc. Then the cost of fixing the screen when it cracked, oh my God. I switched to Android, Samsung Note 5 to be specific, and then I found true love. Life was so much easier and more synchronized. I was now part of a wide network and not some quote-unquote cult. I later had a chance to choose between an upgraded Android phone and an iPhone, and it wasn't even a debate. I chose my boo, the Android phone, and didn't even consider my ex. There are so many virtues of Android I can sing of, but I'll end my love letter here. Android all the way. That's from Na in Spintex. Nah, that's a love story. So we've got a caller on the line.
Love already.
Hello, caller.
Yeah, Spaggy.
Hi.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Charlie.
Welcome to the show. The name?
Android, most definitely all the way.
Nice.
Charlie, it's easy to use. A lot of people are on it.
Sorry, say again. You said you are which one all the way?
Come again?
You said you are Android all the way.
Android all the way. Android all the way.
Okay.
Because I've used iPhone before, Charlie. The updates dumping is something else. It's for me. It's so complicated sometimes. Like you don't even know what. But hey, my Android phone, my Samsung phones, I can easily upgrade on anything. And Charlie, a lot of people are on it. It's easy to use. So what is the argument? It's simple. Android away. That's it.
Okay, thank you for calling. So the numbers to call if you want to join the conversation is 0302 216 Actually, it's just one number. So the number to call is 0302 216 If you want to send a WhatsApp, it's 0244 340 437. Winston, I'm not going to talk to you right now. Hold up. So the point is, see, we are running out of time. So another message, the copy is not all about updates. Android releases security patches every month for OEMs to push to their phones. So the OSs may be old, but are secure. iOS guys. The Android seem to have a rebuttal for everything you guys say. But, I mean, yes, it's not all about updates. But then again, when you have a phone and then new software is created, the new software is supposed to enable the old apps to do new stuff. So imagine that a new firmware that is rolled out allows your hardware to do, like an app to do something that you couldn't do before.
Let's say slices.
Exactly. Okay. Or augmented reality something. Right? And then you don't get that update, but you get security patches. You can't do it. But the iOS guy will get that update. Even on the oldest phone, maybe not the oldest, but on the older phone. No, like 5S. But then again, even though it will make the phone extremely slow, it still gets the update. So you get to experience what you would want to use in the next iPhone,
and then buy another phone.
Well, yeah, that's the business.
So
Eventually
there we have
it.
No, but you see, at the end of the day, you get to experience it. But you don't get to experience it.
But not to full capacity.
We've got another caller on the line. Hello, Kujo.
Hello, hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I just want to find out between the iPhone and then the Android phones, which one freezes the more?
Which one what?
Freezes.
Oh, freezes. So that was the app crashes we were talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, you mean like the phone itself freezing?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So we will address that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for calling, Kujo. I guess Android users, we all know the answer to this question.
Yes.
Which is we have given a very solid defense here. So
Which is what?
Being here, well, I give this one to iOS.
Okay.
So the nice man and I, we agree.
Okay.
Android freezes.
Because when
Can
it
I-
comes
can I
to
chip in?
softwares,
Yes.
Can I chip in? For instance, we have a cup that can take 4 liters of water, and we have a rubber bag that can expand to take 8 liters of water. Obviously, if the Android phone allows you to download 100 apps, an iPhone allows you to download only 10, who is likely to freeze?
Just your argument,
No,
yeah.
it is because Android allows you to do more.
More.
On it. Yes, more on it.
But
And
then,
hence RAM is short. RAM is limited. It has to be spread across all the apps.
but you
all
see,
the apps on
the
phone.
bottom line
Storage as
is
well.
we still have to come back to the everyday user. The everyday user only knows that my phone has frozen. Sometimes they don't even know how to
Restart phone.
unfreeze it, quote unquote.
Remove battery.
Right? Well, in this case where you don't have removable batteries, what do you do? Anyway, so let me go to the poll. On Twitter, 53% iOS, 47% Android. That's 397 votes.
Naturally.
So the comments, iOS. Enjoying the show all the way from this program is too dope. iOS. With the issue of affordability, I believe iOS is better. iOS is big. Well, iOS is fun, but Android makes the world go round. I used to use Android until last year I got myself an iPhone. Trust me, iOS is safe and smooth, no lagging and great performance. So those are the comments. And then someone replied to that. That's because you were using a star, very foul word, Android phone. So the person's basically saying you're using a rubbish Android phone. That's why
it was slow and
it was slow and lagging. So
That's
I
why
mean,
an Android phone. It was not using an iOS.
I was not
phone and
using.
say,
So you see, bottom line, we have there's so much more we can talk about. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
we should continue this another time.
Yes, we should.
Before we go, we're going to talk about one last feature:
Okay.
cloud services. I mean, there are more features that I have listed. So this is one of them: cloud services. Which of these phones perform better with cloud backups? All the services that your phone comes with iCloud, a minimum of 5 gig. Your phone comes with Google Drive, minimum of 15 gig. If anybody's watching me right now, like, there's that awkward silence. Like,
No,
that's
there's no awkward.
That's not awkward. There's an explanation.
please
See,
elaborate.
iOS syncs seamlessly almost everything you do. How many Android users actually do know how much Google Drive space they do have, and do they even use it?
Yes.
How many people know?
Everybody who has a Gmail knows.
Yes.
Well, you
And
have
you
a
need a
Gmail.
Gmail
Actually, the only thing I have seen Android users use their Google Drive for, sometimes photos, and then other times contacts.
And on that
That's the only thing.
note, photos backup
Yeah.
on Google Drive is actually unlimited.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can back up that unlimited versus Android, which you're still limited to your 5 gig. iOS, which is
iOS cloud,
still.
yes.
Before we continue, it seems that Twitter users are Apple
Apple,
yes,
users
exactly.
because on Facebook, 63% Android, 53% iOS.
There you go.
Yeah. It says here 63 Android, 53. Okay, so 63 people voted for Android, 53 people voted for iOS. So, that's not too, it's about 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you were saying.
It's about
Basically, my point is, yes, there's that space, big space on Android, but when you talk about actual usability, iOS makes it such that it's very seamless. You almost don't even have to set it up. You just log in with your.
I disagree with that.
Yes,
Totally.
I do.
You don't have to set it up.
I do.
As long as you sign in to your iCloud, it just starts backing everything
Yeah,
up for you.
but it's the
you
same
take-
with
Same
Google.
I really beg to differ.
It is the same.
See,
It
when
is
I
totally
purchased the iPhone X recently and I needed to upgrade from the 7.
iPhone
Okay.
10.
Yeah. The X is.
All right. So basically, I just set up using my iCloud account and everything. I was just amazed. Apps, WhatsApp, data, conversations, everything just backed up automatically. I just continued as if I was on the same
Okay,
phone.
that is actually a forte of the iPhone because, like, there's that continuity. It doesn't. You don't miss a single thing, except obviously when you run out of space on your iCloud. But I've migrated from an Android to another Android, and I lost some stuff.
Yes.
Like content, like messages and stuff like that. But when you do an actual backup before you do that migration, you don't have that problem. With iOS, you don't actually have to do the backup; it's automatic.
Now here's the interesting thing. Now with the way, okay, sorry.
No, you have 1 minute. So,
Okay, so with the way Google is moving forward, Google is pushing AI. You need data for AI.
Yes.
Pretty much all of Google services now are cloud-based services, no matter what. Even when you're editing your pictures in Google Photos now, it's an AI-based, it's a cloud-based system. And recently, iOS 12, they were talking about the fact that their thing is now more end-to-end encryption. So I sent to you, it doesn't go up into the cloud. So if Apple themselves are saying that they are reducing your interaction with the cloud, and Google is actually increasing your interaction with the cloud, who here
does better cloud service?
So a quick rebuttal.
Right.
You know, everything you have on Android, you can get on iOS.
I feel like
especially
it's
when it
reverse.
comes to cloud. Okay, you can get Google, everything. I can sync my iOS to my Android and get my contacts and pictures from
which
Google,
is actually
but you
for
can't get the
that
iCloud
because
services
Apple is
on
very proprietary
Android.
with their software.
With their software.
Exactly.
But so before we end, cloud services basically, actually Apple benefits from Google services.
Yes.
Yes.
exactly.
Like
Yes.
Google
people
doesn't
who buy
benefit
16
from
gig
cloud.
iPhones can actually back up their photos unlimited to the cloud, to Google
Google
Drive.
Drive.
Exactly.
Yes.
And just before we go, we do know that Apple's iCloud is hosted on Google's. This has been great conversation. I'm glad you guys came in. We should do this again. We're not done. We're still, people are asking questions. I wish we could answer them all, but we ran out of time. My name is Kobe Spike Nkrumah, and I did this with Kwekwa Nancy, Frank 1, Frank 2, Winston Wache, and Pandora's Box, or the opposite of Pandora's Box. This has been Geek Squad. We will catch you next week, hopefully with part 2 of this conversation. Big ups to my producers, Dela Glanu, Abeku Sankofi, and the fair boy, Dennis.